Hello, BookTube. This is, I guess, really the second announcement video of the day. So I'm being kept a little busy today. So this is the first video, an announcement video, of something that myself and Steve Donahue are calling 2 If by Sea, which is his title for it, and it's a great one. It's a year-long exploration of books in the sea. And it's both nonfiction and fiction. And it's something that him and I have been talking about for quite some time. So every month we'll each read a book, and then we will discuss it. Right now we're looking at the third Thursday of every month. We'll see if that works out, but either way, it will be once a month. We will alternate between the two of us who does a fiction and who does a nonfiction. So for January, I'm doing a nonfiction, and for January, he's doing a fiction. Next month, I'll have a fiction title, and he'll have a nonfiction title, and we'll work that way throughout the year, except for, I believe, we're talking about June, both of us reading the same book, which might be fun, which will be fun. So part of what we discuss is why. Why are we doing this? And we thought we'd each talk about our own nautical backgrounds, both reading and in the real world. Well, reading is part of the real world, but you get my point. So both of us have spent plenty of time at sea. And I will tell you about my time. So my time with books in the sea predates my time with the sea. As a little boy, I was born in Vermont, which is quite a ways from the ocean. Not a lot, but a ways. And I started reading books about the sea probably more than 50 years ago. And it was an exotic world, different than the mountains and rivers and all that I was used to. So it took me away. And some of those early books would have been Robert Louis Stevenson works, and Jack London. And eventually, I moved to Maine with my family as a young man. And first thing I wanted to see was the ocean, and there's plenty of that there. And small harbors with wooden boats and schooners and tall ships of different kinds and power boats and tugboats. Just magical for me. And at a fairly young age, I started messing about in boats. And by the time I was done with high school, I ended up in the Coast Guard. And I had already had quite a bit of experience working in small boats. And I ended up on a large ship and sailed to the Mediterranean, sailed in the North Sea, sailed, to Norway, to Amsterdam, and the Mediterranean. I went to Gibraltar, I went to Palma de Mallorca, I went to Naples, Italy. Really had a lot of experience on the ship, the Caribbean, everywhere in the Caribbean, just about. And different kinds of vessels. I ended up, as you see behind me, that's a 44-foot motor lifeboat. It's a 44387. It's one I operated as a search and rescue coxswain in the Coast Guard. And there it is, I think that's a 393. I was stationed on that ship right there in Boston. It's a 378-foot high endurance cutter, which that's the one I took to the Mediterranean and the North Sea and the North Atlantic, and in the Caribbean quite a bit. These I was in the Pacific Northwest, so I have time in the North Pacific, Straits of Juan de Fuca, Nia Bay, Cape Flattery, Quiet River, all the way up and down the Washington coast. So absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved the ocean. I've sailed quite a bit on sailboats, but most of the time I wasn't what we used to call a Sperry topsider guy, the guy with the leather sailing shoes. I was more of a guy that had wore the work boots. So I was a bosun mate and a coxswain. I went to the National Search and Rescue School to learn how to mount searches for people, you know, tides, currents, wind, where to have search patterns, what to choose. I graduated from Seaman Church Institute with courses in international regulations for preventing collisions at sea, all sorts of search and rescue. So search and rescue was my thing. There was maritime law enforcement, and I went to plenty of schools for that and had a lot of experience with that too. But for me, it was always search and rescue, and it was the boats and the ships, the lighthouses, and that it reflects in my reading. I've been reading maritime history for, again, probably less than, I've been reading maritime fiction for a little over 50 years. The nonfiction came slightly later, but one led to the other. And Tristan Jones, all the great sailing writers, Joshua Slocum, and, you know, it just was something that I loved. I've been in many storms and many wild situations that I remember more fondly now than probably when I went through them. So, to me, the literature associated with the sea has always been important. Poetry, fiction, nonfiction. We're going to concentrate on fiction and nonfiction for this. We probably could have thrown in some poetry, probably just didn't think of it at the time, or at least I didn't. So for this month, to launch this, I'm going to be reading, and you can see I'm in it right now. This is an old copy of Sterling Hayden's Wanderer. Sterling Hayden was a famous actor, a bit of a war hero, less than a hero during the McCarthy era, unfortunately, and then maybe a bit more of a hero later in his life. I'll finish this up. This is the second reading. I haven't read it in 30 years, and it's surprising how different it feels to me this time around. So this is what I will start off with, Wanderer by Sterling Hayden. He also wrote a novel. This is nonfiction, obviously. It's a memoir. But he also wrote some fiction, and he was quite a writer. So I hope you enjoy this and get involved with Steve and I as we explore books in the sea. And thank you, BookTube.